This is Eric Rutan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
G'day everybody, hope you're well. I've got a conversation with Scotty Carstairs from Fallujah to share with you. The catalyst for the chat is due to the launch of a new album for 2022 from the group. It is titled Empyrean and it is an absolute cracker. I love going deep into the mechanics of songwriting, production, the way Scotty's decided to approach his guitar playing on this album. We do all of that throughout this chat. I really enjoyed it, I must say. Before we get to the conversation, if you have tuned in via the podcast apps, I have selected a tune for your listening pleasure titled Soulbreaker. And once it is done, we'll dive into the chat. Of course, you people on YouTube, you know the drill. I can't play music on YouTube, unfortunately. So we'll get stuck into the chat right now. Either way, let's go.
Surrounded by the signs of our souls. Yo, what up, man?
Scotty, how's things, mate?
Going good, dude. Friday here in California, 5:30 Friday. How's it for you?
Yeah, not too bad. I've got a fucking busy day ahead, I've got to be honest with you. I'm also a musician, can you tell? This
Yeah,
isn't a
yeah,
show,
yeah.
by the way. I've been practicing and I hate photo shoots. I don't know about you, but I've got one in the moment. And then
Oh,
we've
sick.
got a gig up north. Do you like photo shoots? Are they things you can vibe on, or do you just sort of,
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. I don't know. It depends. I used to get anxious. I guess it depends on how the last one went. The last one went good. You're like, the last one went bad. You're like, damn it. What are we gonna fuck this one up too? Like something like that. But yeah, I feel you. I feel you. Or yeah, just getting ready for stuff when you just want to jam at home. You're just like, God damn. All right. Where's north for you?
sunshine, close to the Sunshine Coast? So I'm on the Gold Coast in Queensland.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Sick.
yeah. So similar to Florida, I think is probably the equivalent. If you had you could draw a comparison between where I live or Hawaii, I suppose. I've been to Hawaii and was like, wow, this is like home.
Oh, sick. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, Australia. I've only been there one time, man, but God, I had so much fun there. I just can't wait to go back, dude. It's so sick. It's a good time.
I actually believe you should be a lot bigger here. You know that because, you've got the psychroptic thing coming up, of course, but your music is tailor-made for our tastes.
Really? That's interesting. You said that. That's because I'm slowly getting to understand what Australians like. I don't really know, but I mean, Neoblitoscaris, they've always been brought up like like relating us to the band, and I know they're big in Australia. I always thought we could tour together, whatever. But dude, I hope we can go back soon. We were supposed to go back, and then the pandemic, canceled everything, of course. Yeah. But I don't know. We're here now. We got a new record, so hopefully we'll be able to get over there if you guys let us.
Yeah, well, you guys are just getting better and better. We had a conversation about 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember now. And I spoke to your old singer as well. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And I thought you were very good on Undying Light, I must say. I vibed on that album there, but you just fucking nailed it with Empyrean.
And that's awesome.
But do you put that down to the new members, or are you just yourself? Are you just getting to the next level as a writer and as a player? Do you think?
I think we just like kind of really found ourselves. It's like really weird when you write all these records from like a young age, and it's like all you do with all your free time. Like this is all I've ever done since I was like 15 or 16 or something like that. And the first record was released when I was like 18 or something, and I spent like 2 years up until that. And it's just always been. Once the touring got going, it was always go on tour and then write music for Fallujah, and kind of got this whole thing going. And with Undying Light, and member changes and all that, and like an opportunity to try new things, I was like, I need to like get out of the kind of hamster wheel of like making stuff that's like to impress people. And it was kind of like, I didn't want to repeat the same ideas again. And the band's always been known for like kind of pushing the envelope and trying new things and developing. So I just kind of wanted to clear my palate and try these new ideas that were like more shoegazy and grungy and stuff. And it was like, I think doing that like really kind of cleared everything out for me, and it made me just feel so good as like an artist, like getting like accomplishing this like goal that was kind of like difficult, and challenging for my brain. It wasn't like I just could improvise writing, which is usually you kind of just sit down and let it flow out or whatever. But every time I would do that, it would just sound like the old records, and it was just kind of like, it was just not vibing with it. So I needed to sit down and like consciously like come up with these concepts and then try to execute them while recording it. And it's like we finished that record, and it was almost like, we sat down to write this record before the pandemic happened. It was kind of during some of the touring for Undying Light, and I just knew I wanted to attack this new album like the same way we did, as if it was like our first album, you know what I mean? And like the whole point, like reestablish this band's sound, and with like a super aggressive kind of vicious energy to it. And, from like the way the riff sound and the complexity to it, and to how like dazzling the guitar work was, I really wanted just to be like super intense in a lot of different ways. So that was like the initial goal from the very beginning. And then as soon as the pandemic happened, it was like, it was lame and kind of scary, like having everything change. And it did change a lot. It changed our lineup, it changed. It's chaos for everybody. And I'd rather have my problems than anybody else's. People went through a lot worse stuff. And it was kind of just like, all right, well, you said you were going to make, because I wanted to reestablish band. I wanted it to be the best record we've ever done. I wanted it to be the most intense guitar work that's ever been done. And it was kind of like, all right, well, now you have time to do it. Sit down and do it, or don't. You know what I mean? Like you could have go figure something else out with your life or whatever, go get a job or something. And, I think we just decided, we were just all inspired, just like, we're going to put together the craziest, most insane record, and it's going to be new, but it's going to still represent the band and the catalog we have. And it's going to set the stage for what we do during this decade, really. And we just didn't, pulled all the stops, you know what I mean? I just put in so much work into this. Every single member that was involved, like they brought their A game. It was crazy. So this record is really magical for me because, what we set out to do and had really high hopes, and you do that with every record, but you're only allowed a certain amount of time, and eventually it just turns out the way it does. It's still a product. You still got to finish it and turn it into the record label. So you always aim super, super high, and then it turns out the way it does, and it's all good. But I feel like this record turned out better than where we aimed, and it's just like really awesome how everybody came together and through very uncertain times for the band and for the industry too, and how we pulled it out anyway. And I can almost feel it on this record, this almost, I don't know, just this energy, like we're confident, we know what we're doing, and we're just gonna fucking do it at the top level, And hopefully it comes across that way. But I just wanted to make impactful music, and I'm just glad how it turned out. And the new members, they've really changed. They really brought it to a different level for me. It's cool.
You're not fucking around. I can hear that. There's no doubt about it. I listened the first time I got it, and I thought, holy shit, I don't know how you did better than Undying Light, but it's good to hear the progression, but it's you've got a lot going on. And one of the things that I heard more of, you've hinted at it in the past, but was that Paul Masvidal style stuff, the cynic style.
Oh yeah.
The on that bit, I couldn't tell you where it is. It's sort of toward the end though, because it's not traditional song structures, but the bitter taste of clarity toward the end of that. I grooved on that, man, just constantly rewind, play.
Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah. So was that more, I wouldn't call it jazz, but you know where I'm headed. Were you trying to get even more of that in?
Well, there was certain sections where just we had we just got lucky with, I don't know, it's certain sections you know what you're going to do. You're going to sit down. It's this has to be a heavy part. This has to be a big atmospheric part. And then maybe a part comes across in Duality of 10, here we finally get this clean, jammy prog part or whatever. For me, that's the proggiest kind of cynic-y, Timon from Cynic kind of vibes or whatever. And I was like, here's an opportunity to do some weird chord changes and then change the key and stuff. And it's I found that if I set out to write a song with something in my head already, I want the song to have this in it, it really messes things up and messes up the momentum of the song, instead of just kind of writing music with a general goal in mind, as this is going to be a fast song, a heavy song, or an atmospheric song. Let's just kind of write ideas and see how it grows into something. And if there's opportunities in there in the song as it's growing to do some of these ideas that are pre-established, you know what I mean, then attack and jump onto the opportunity. And what's cool is I think, I've always been a huge fan of Cynic. I can only incorporate it so much into Fallujah because it's very aggressive. It's a completely different band, but also Kyle's a huge fan of Cynic. He's done covers of Cynic and he knows all their melody lines. I mean, he has a completely different tone than Paul, but it's we both had similar interest in that kind of music. So I think it really lined up really well on certain sections, Embrace Oblivion, his whole clean proggy kind of Tool sounding section, in Eden's Lament, he gets a nice little clean style, kind of slidey guitar, almost reminds me of Cynic, but it's his tones and stuff. And it's cool. And those are parts that were never even planned to be there. And it was just he had this idea, he tried it, and we're oh, that sounds nice. Let's push that further. Maybe I'll make that twice as long and add more guitars here and cool stuff like that.
Just on that point, there are far too many exceptional solos and lead passages to single out for me. But I mean, for you, if someone really pressed you and said, give me an example of what you sound like, hit me with the stuff that you think I need to hear, what not even the song, but what piece inside of a song would you isolate and say, this is where I think I'm at right now?
As far as solo guitar playing?
Yeah, hinting at your technical ability, because it's just magical.
Thanks, man. That's another one with this. I know setting down with this record, I knew I wanted the solos to be out of this world, the best. So for sure on this one, pushed it as hard as I can go. For instance, that Radiant Ascension solo, I remember finishing writing that. And I had already been touring for 10 years. So I know what it's like when you when you write a really hard part, it like haunts you for like years. You know what I mean? Especially if it becomes like something that your fans really like. All of a sudden, that's the song that your fans really like. You're like, damn, I have to know that solo forever for as long as we perform it. And it's like I remember when I was younger, like the solo for Alpha Incipients, the first song off of our first album, the solo in there is just as crazy as I can make it or whatever. And I had no regard for like, having to play that for the next however many years. And
yeah.
So, I was, I guess, a little bit more reserved with some of the solos I made after that and trying to make it more flow. But I knew with this one, I wanted it to scare me in the same way it did with the earlier songs. So like, yeah, Radiant Ascension was one of those like, I don't know if I'm sure about this. Like I finished it and like performed it. And I'm like, this is going to be fucking insane to play every single night. Like this could be like cause me a lot of stress and anxiety, but it's just like, it has to be insane. And so that's kind of how all the solos went, like disregard for that. And let's just make it as crazy as possible. And even a little bit past maybe what I'm comfortable with doing. And hopefully I'll push it to make it. So Radiant Ascension is like that. But if I was trying to show somebody where I'm at as like a guitar player, I'd have to probably pick the solo in Artifacts, just because like there's like this balance between like what I like about fusion guitar and like kind of blues and stuff, where it's not on a grid. It's just a lot of feel. It's almost like someone singing, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I also really love like the solos that are off of, Necrophagist albums and Obscura albums, like Christian ones are like super on the grid. Everything is perfectly arranged. Every downbeat has to be perfectly mapped out so the arpeggios fit all perfect. And it's like, I love both of those things, but sometimes I don't like it when it's one or the other. And I think, some songs you try to do that, but they come out a certain way. I feel like on Artifacts, I was able to get that kind of like, metal guitar player on the grid. But then there were times I'll fall off the grid and do these legato lines that have like groupings of fives. And even just like, I think because I was trying to get natural takes of the solo, like I was shredding through it. I think there was one where I just abandoned a note and just like go into a bend, and you could hear it's not even on rhythm too much. And it just gives it this really cool sound. And so if you're asking me what I would like to be represented by, I think I would do that one, because it mixes that like guitar fusion influence I have, but still like that metal influence. Because I really love, like Greg Howe and Alan Holdsworth, and they weren't always.
I can hear the Alan, mate. Yeah,
They're all Steve Vai too, and they weren't always on the grid. It wasn't an exact like every single note falls right in that 16th note triplet thing or whatever. You know what I mean? Like. So yeah, I like that in between almost. Makes it sound like organic, like a take. It sounded like a moment, as opposed to this is how it's always going to sound no matter what, because you were going to beat it into submission with quantizing or whatever.
Oh, thank you for not doing that, by the way.
Really, dude, it's a challenge. It's hard to, once you're in there for like hours and hours, all of a sudden your brain starts to be like, align it. You're like, you got to let go. Yeah,
it's bad. And there's too many albums that come out like that, and I can hear you haven't done that, to your point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, drums too, especially with drum. Yeah, that's ruins it the most for me. Yeah.
You can't. I must get like tens of new releases a week, and just with digital audio workstations being so easy to access and purchase and what have you, all this shit comes in, and you can hear it's not recorded all of that well in terms of it doesn't have the gloss that you guys have got. They don't have a bloke like Mark to work with, but everything's lined up. And I'm a bassist, so I can pick that straight away. I'm like, no, don't do it, because it's got to breathe.
Totally, yeah, dude. I mean, to be honest, it took me a while to learn that growing up, really, like, because I started recording the guitars to save money, because it was just like this music's so technical, and it was like such the worst feeling going into the studio and being like rushed, and then it coming out like you're used to listening to like Necrophagist, and then you hear just like live takes edited. You're like, bro, I sound sloppy as shit. This doesn't even sound close to what I want. So I wanted to spend more time at home, and I started this at 17. You don't know shit about anything, and you're just trying to make it straight and clean. You know what I mean? And then you realize you're losing some life to it, and it just took many years of many different recordings. Like, the bass was especially hard for me. Like the earlier bass recordings of that, because I would record our bassist. Like, dude, like it was a train wreck. I had so much to learn how to make it natural, and it took me even the longest time before. We had tempo changes in our songs, and that's another thing I like about this album is there's a lot of tempo changes, even minuscule ones that go from maybe it goes to a fast part to a heavy part. Let's just drop at 5 BPM, because that's probably what you would do live. You know what I mean? Everybody would slow down and get into the groove. And I don't know, if you forget that and you're listening to the music, something feels more like organic about it. It's like super cool sounding.
What happened with the other members? Did you guys just go separate ways, or was the pandemic have such a, because I know you're in California, a bit like Victoria here, mate, where you couldn't bloody leave your home practically.
Yeah.
I think that was the case. So is that what happened?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, maybe it was stuff that was going to happen eventually, and then like the pandemic was like the push, you know, like for instance, our bassist, he'd been in the band for every single record all the way up until now, until the pandemic, and like the guy has been like helped with everything. Maybe he doesn't help so much with like writing the music, but he's been there for everything logistically, making those tours happen. There's a lot of work that goes into it, like the band and the trailer and helping with merch and just working as a group together. And then you have this time where it's like, you know, that's kind of part of it, like waiting for us to finish writing the music so we can get back to it. But now there's like nothing to get back to, and you almost have to have faith that it's all going to end and wait around. So like, for him, it's like I think he wanted to try new things in his life. He'd been the bassist for like a death metal band, going on that journey for like 4 albums, toured everywhere I toured, you know what I mean, including when we hit Australia. And I think he was like, I think I could do other things, you know, smart enough to do other things. And I think he wanted to get an education with the time that he had. So yeah, nothing against that. And I really appreciate, because he knows how much work goes into to writing a record. I'm the kind of person where it's like I drop literally everything and I put everything I have into it. Like I don't, you know, that's why you just can't really do it. You know what I mean? Like you can't half do it. It'll take 5 years if you do it like half, like after work or something like that. Unfortunately, like it's just this kind of music requires so much time, and like if you're going to be involved, I'm going to like need a lot from you because I'm trying to like lighten the load or whatever. So yeah, so that, and then that's the other thing is like the motivation. Like, you know, some of us are motivated like we're going to go on tour with Slayer in a month, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, you know what I mean? And we have to just have that mentality, like this has to be the best music. We have to put in this crazy amount of work. Like you know, you kind of have faith. You got to have like kind of faith that this is going to be worth your time. And I think that's always a challenge for like people who are creative. Like, am I even using my time useful? Like, am I just kind of fulfilling my ego by working on music? Like, because it makes me feel better. And it's like, you know, you can't ask everybody to be as motivated as you are. And you know, that causes tension when people are not willing to put in that work or don't have like faith that this work is going to be worth it. And I think that was another reason why other members split up with us. It's like, dude, we can't act like we're going to have years to do this. Like this is happening now. We're going to go hard right now, even if there is literally no sign that this pandemic is going to end, because it's like, this is what I do. I got to get this done. It's got to be insane. So that's kind of where it was. Yeah.
It's only natural to cycle through members in the genre too, because it is a hard graft. As you know, you've done all of the touring. I don't have to explain a goddamn thing to you because you've been there. You've written the book practically. So, but the new guys as well, have they got the experience out on the road as say the other guys? Do you like, in other words, do you have faith that say an 8-week tour or this tour with Psychroptic is you're going to pull it off successfully?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, luckily I got to have them on the tour at Rivers. If you asked me before that tour, I would have been like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay, but I don't know for sure. But after we did the tour with Rivers, I mean, Kyle would say would be the newest one to touring. The other members are all been touring, and you know, I guess not green as you would say, but I think the guy is just so. Like that was probably the least experience he had was the performing touring aspect. Everything else he's written a lot of music, he's recorded a lot of music, and he's always been working on music. So insanely sick, and he was so good at that, and there was just no way we couldn't have him on this record. So it was like, we'll figure out doing the tours or whatever. He had performed, you know what I mean, but not like this, like you said, this level 8 weeks. You're dealing with like headliners and schedules, and it's like it's pretty could get pretty grody or whatever, and got to deal with a lot. And he did it like he did everything else, where he puts in a lot of work, you know, and he just like it was just funny because he puts more work than what I've seen other artists do. It's like, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but you know, sometimes I'm like maybe it's members that have been in band for a really long time. You've done touring, it's not as scary or whatever, so it's kind of like, have you practiced? And they're like, no, dude, we'll just figure it out during rehearsal. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, you can't have everybody like be obsessed with practicing the way you want to be or whatever. And you just make it work. But I noticed that like, yeah, he had the whole sit down like well in advance. I was like, bro, I don't even have to sit down, like chill out, So I knew he just took it seriously. It wasn't like one of those like, oh, it'll be okay, I'll figure it out as we go. It was like, no, I'm going to prepare as much as I can. You can't really prepare. You got to learn some things in the moment, but I mean, he did everything he could do, and it showed when he performed live. It's like, I think he killed it, and the response was really awesome. Like I was just kind of blown away by hearing. That's how you gauge it, is you chill at the merch table and just hear people's reaction. And most of the time they'll be honest with you. I've heard people be like, yeah, the music was sick, I didn't like the vocals, or you guys didn't sound like this. And I could just tell that people were really excited and they really liked what he was bringing. And I don't know, it was kind of a funny situation, because unfortunately the vocals before had such a hard time with fans, and it seems like people are quickly embracing Kyle. I'm just like, like doesn't always turn out like this, Kyle. It's funny. He's like, oh, this is not so bad.
Yeah, I believe in
the work.
You heard of the law of attraction, not the bullshit version of it, but the Higgs stuff, the vortex stuff. Have you ever gotten to that before?
Maybe I've watched a YouTube video on it. Maybe re-explain it to me. What is it?
Fascinating stuff. It just talks about this energy stepping into. Oh gosh, I'm going to fuck it up. But best thing I can say to you is just get a clip that's been watched a lot. Higgs, the vortex. Check it out. There's nothing better than feeling good and doing what you're meant to be doing with your life. And because of that, all of these cooperative components are aligned. So when somebody else steps out, all of a sudden something even better appears. And it feels like that's happening for you guys.
I mean, yeah, the feeling I've just had is just remaining just grateful, because like it seems like we have had a lot of luck with like, just with certain situations, and like being able to find someone like Kyle who's willing to be, because we had to find the vocalist beforehand. It's really, really hard to find somebody that checks all those things, especially the biggest one. Like, how do you find someone who's talented and also around our age and willing to drop everything to go on tour? Like, because when we put this album, I want to tour a lot on it, and that's kind of a lot to require somebody that's at the level that we want. And so just grateful that we found him, grateful that Evan was stoked on the music and wanted to be a part of it, and like he was super inspired. And it seemed like everybody was, because a lot had happened with the band and through the pandemic, and like the response to the last record, I think everybody, as opposed to being kind of like put down and like wanting to give up, it was like we're all fired up and energized, and we just wanted only people, because that was part of the auditioning, is like you're not just going to come in here just because like you want to continue in a band or something like that, or you just want to be able to perform. Like, we want somebody super excited that's going to make something that's impactful, and like we're doing something that's really important to us, whether it's going to be important to the world or not. So I only wanted to be involved with people like that, and that's who we got. And it's like, I feel it on the record. It feels good. It's like something like when I listen back to records, I think about how I felt when we were making them, and certain records have certain feelings, you know what I mean? And this record just feels good, like a really positive feeling from it. Like we did what we set out to do, and also the message is very inspiring and positive. So it's cool.
Your career is certainly following a different trajectory to Lucas Mann, and I'm not throwing any shade at Lucas at all, because I like the bloke, but you know what's been going on.
Shit. Not really, dude. I'm actually pretty close friends with lots of people who have been involved differently, and I think we grew up in the same town too. So we vaguely knew each other. Like he's been at my house. He's been at my house when I was like 16 once, when I was recording our first album. Just like stopped by to say hello, but yeah, I've always known members. But honestly, I miss so much, because I'm either like getting ready to do my stream on Twitch, or I'm like rehearsing music. Sometimes I'm not up to date with what's going on, or I just don't care. I'm like, what are they doing now?
Oh no, I was just thinking that they either got booted from Nuclear Blast. I don't know that. I was just reading between the lines on the presser.
I think I heard something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are on Nuclear Blast, and they were going along quite well, and their gig down here, mate, was fantastic. But you need that stability, and Nuclear Blast do provide that. So going to, say, a more indie label or what have you, you might be able to tell them what to do, but it's not always within your best interests.
Yeah, and sometimes they just tell you the reality too. Like, it's like that's kind of hard. Like growing up, that's what I've kind of like, you want things to happen a certain way, and maybe the industry is just like not set up for it to happen in the way you want it to happen, and you just kind of have to have some like, there's just like some hard realities, and we have to work within these boundaries for now. You know what I mean? Maybe we could grow into something that can defy these boundaries. But I think it's like Nuclear Blast really helps give us the record the best chance it could have to impact people, and that's all I'm really looking for. They're cool people and all, but just need to get it to as many people as possible, because that's why I made the music, for people to listen to it, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely give you that platform. Yeah, no doubt. And look, I better make this my final question, because I think you got another one in a minute or two's time. So, Mark Lewis, how could I not talk about Mark? Yeah, tell me, why did you decide to work with him again?
I mean, besides the fact that the guy's like super talented, like we get along super well, like that's like his humor and like work ethic. That's exactly like how I like to work. I like to goof around, but like this is really serious. We're going to put all of ourselves into this. Like, so we're already gotten to know each other. He recorded Dreamless. He recorded Undying Light. And I think, just with like the goals with writing this album, like I wanted to like make something insane, make it something that is like our best work. And talking to Mark and, responding to the critic, because like all of it, like Undying Light was some of our favorite work. It's my favorite, as far as the tones and like sonically how it sounds. Like we were in the studio recording that album, like we just couldn't believe how good these tones were coming out. And I think the music allowed it to be more open and heavy and stuff like that. And we were super stoked. And the vocal tones were just like, oh God, this is so sick. And then, we get a bunch of criticism, which I don't mind the criticism or regret doing what I did. It felt really good for me. But I think Mark is like, what the fuck? This record was fucking insane. Like getting all pissed off. So I think he had this energy too when I came to him, like, this is what I want to do. This is the kind of style I was thinking with it. And I don't know, like we can go with somebody else, but how do you feel about it? He had this energy, like, I'm ready to make the sickest record ever with you guys. Let's fucking make this crazy as possible. You know what I mean? He has this energy, like, oh, let's really get to it. And then when we finally got to the studio with him, some people hype you up, like, oh yeah, we're gonna fucking kill it. And then they're like on their phone during the session. They got you in the room. They got the job, so you're there. Now they could chill out. No more time to sell or whatever. But that's not how he was, man. Everything he did was super tedious. He was making sure that every element we were getting absolutely the best, and he didn't spare any time, including from just day to day. Like he would get up earlier than I did and like start working on the editing, and we would go, we're supposed to stop at like 6 or something to have regular 10-hour days. That's already long, but we just go to 8 to 9, order food. And and it was just really just cool stuff where you could just tell he really cared that this had to be, every element had to be good. Just the amount of time we spent trying to find the guitar tones. I think we went through 27 different speakers, recorded all like a certain type of riff through 3 different types of riffs through each of those speakers, and then went through which one's the best one. And then love hearing that, mate. Dude, it was for me as like guitar nerd, it was like such a fun learning experience. So like I felt like my ears got better just being there and figuring out how to do this. But yeah, we took the time, and it took so much time. Just like you listen to 4, you record it, you do all this stuff. And then you have to go in there and unscrew all that shit and put in new cones. And it's just like very tedious, like laborious work, but he didn't care. He just kept going. And we did the same thing with the drums. Like the funniest part was just like almost being there. I thought we were ready. Like we spent all this time on picking which kit, and then the drum kit, and then the cymbals were taking forever. He's finally recording the first track, and he's going for it. I'm like, here we go. This is it. We've been setting this up for like a week, literally, like the tones. And then he finishes recording this first couple takes, and Mark's like, yeah, that cymbal doesn't sound right. We got to go to us. He's like, I'm going to call up a few studios, and he calls up a few studios in Nashville. And we spent the rest of the day driving around Nashville, testing out these cymbals, got like 3 or 4 of them to bring back to test. And, it sucks. You're like, oh, I thought we were going to start. But once we got that cymbal in, it was like, it's perfect. It is perfect. And it really was like the cymbal that was sticking out, all of a sudden no longer sticking out. Like, so yeah, we rescheduled flights multiple times. I think we were supposed to be there like 4.5 weeks. We were there for like 6 weeks. I was there from the beginning to the end, and members were coming in and leaving as I was hanging out there the whole time. And I was tracking in the other room when I had free time. It's just so much stuff to track with all the leads and stuff. So it was a crazy time. It was crazy.
Congratulations, mate.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, congratulations for having the wherewithal to put in the bloody work for a start. Okay. For forging a career the way that you have, you're just on this awesome trajectory at the moment. It's as great as Empyrean is, I'm probably more excited to see where you head in the next sort of 5 years or so. So, and that includes coming down here, because I'd love to catch up and have a beer.
Dude, yes, please, man. As soon as possible. I tell everybody, like, get that going, bro. Like, I cannot wait. It was such a tease because I thought we were going to go to Australia plus Japan, and I was just so excited, and it was like coming up, and then it all got canceled. I was like, no. So it's like that wound is never going to heal until we go and hang out. Yeah. But dude, I appreciate the kind words, man. Thanks for doing the interview. And yeah, I just want to get this music to as many people as possible. So hopefully people enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll do my bit here, mate. So congratulations again. And thanks very much for the chat. Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, good luck with your drive and your photo shoot and all that.
Thanks, mate. We'll do. I'll listen to you guys on the way up. Don't worry.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, thanks again, man. All right, have a good rest of your Saturday, bro.
No worries, mate. All the best. Catch you again.
Later, man.
There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Scotty Carstairs from the group Fallujah. What a fantastic fella and an exemplary musician. That album, by the way, titled Empyrean, will see light of day on the 9th of September 2022, in addition to the cut that I played up the top. If you're listening via the podcast apps, it was titled Soulbreaker. There are 2 other tracks that are available, Embrace Oblivion and Radiant Ascension. Check them out. Holy shit, Scotty is just going to an entirely different level to most, it must be said. Now, I've got some information that I want to share with you fairly soon about my book, Scars and Guitars, Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Heavy Metal and Beyond. There's more podcast episodes for you to dive into over at the website as well. It's all happening. Before you listen to that, though, I'm going to bid you a fond farewell. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I'm the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.
This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew Mackay-Smith.
I've been the host of the Scars and Guitars podcast since 2017. The first musician I interviewed for the show was David Vincent from Morbid Angel, and things have just snowballed from there. In all, I've posted almost 650 podcast episodes featuring conversations with many of the leading lights of rock, heavy metal, and beyond. It just got to a point where I thought, I need to write a book about all this, so that's exactly what I did. In Scars and Guitars Volume 1, you'll read a heap of deep reveals and commentary, such as Des Fafara talking about Coal Chamber and why the band will never return.
You know, if you're a band just starting out, you need to hear me. Do not start a band with partners. Ever.
Yeah, wise words there. Sage advice, mate, for anybody.
Don't ever, because I can't go do Coal Chamber right now unless I get others involved.
Phil Anselmo talks about the episode in his career which gives him the greatest sense of accomplishment.
I think the staying power of the fans and the staying power of the songs, you know, whether it's Pantera, Down, or Superjoint, the fans remember the songs.
Alex Skolnick from Testament confirms that, yes, playing the guitar in Ozzy's band is anything but an ordinary gig. Will Silent Oz from Dimmu Borgir write a book? Pa from Sabaton gives advice to people who want to start a band.
Look at the team around you, look at the bandmates. If the guys want to be on the stage, then it's all cool. If the guys want to be backstage, then it's not going to be cool.
Current and former members of Cradle of Filth discuss the band's seminal 90s material. Read about the reaction to George Lynch and Mark from Suicide Silence's comments when they throw shade at then President Donald Trump.
We have this idiotic monster, you know, this egotistical, self-aggrandizing, complete piece of shit in there. I just can't understand how we've gotten to this place.
And yeah, we kicked a hornet's nest with Sepultura. Percussive overlord Gene Hoglan talks about recording with Chuck Schuldiner.
Chuck was always, he was very open-minded, and he was into having his musicians that were playing with him just reach out for the best stuff that they had.
Phil Campbell from Motorhead discusses what it takes to get sober. John 5 answers his critics who dismiss his tenure with Marilyn Manson.
You know, my name is John 5, and Manson gave me that name, and I had some of the best years of my life in that band and learned a lot.
And we get the lowdown on Treyarch Zagtoth from those who would know, including his mother. All across Scars and Guitars Volume 1, there are moments of tension, relief, tragedy, exhilaration, and throughout it all, you'll obtain insight that I believe no one else has managed to obtain from many of your favourite artists. So treat yourself. Scars and Guitars Volume 1 is currently available as an ebook with a print edition on the horizon. Follow the links attached and download a sample. I'm sure you'll be compelled to read the whole book.